Once upon a time, in a small village at the foot of the Catskill Mountains, lived a man named Rip Van Winkle. He was a kind-hearted and good-natured man, well-liked by the children of the village, who would often follow him around, enjoying his company. However, Rip had one notable flaw. He was incredibly lazy. He often preferred to avoid work, which led him to be frequently scolded by his wife, Dame Van Winkle. She was a stern woman who often complained about his lack of ambition and the burden he placed on her shoulders. Rip spent much of his time in the woods, where he would hunt or fish, and he was more at home with the animals than with people. Whenever he ventured into the village, he would find himself in the company of his friends at the local inn, where they would discuss various topics, ranging from politics to the latest village gossip. One fine day, as he was trying to escape his wife's incessant nagging, Rip decided to take a long walk in the nearby mountains. He wandered far from the village, enjoying the beauty of the landscape. After some time, he found himself in a secluded area of the Catskills, a place where the sounds of civilization were completely absent. While exploring, he came across a group of strange men dressed in antique clothing. They were playing a game of ninepins and drinking from large flagons. They were unlike anyone he had ever seen before, and Rip was both curious and intrigued. The men welcomed him warmly, and soon he found himself joining in their merriment. They offered him some of their liquor, and, eager to be part of the fun, Rip drank deeply. As the sun began to set, Rip became increasingly drowsy. He lay down on the soft grass, and before he knew it, he was sound asleep. The strange men continued their game, and Rip slipped into a deep, dreamless slumber. Rip's sleep lasted for an astonishing 20 years. When he finally awoke, he felt refreshed but confused. As he looked around, he noticed that the men were gone, and he was alone. Realizing that he had been sleeping for a long time, Rip felt the urge to return to his village. Upon his return, he was shocked to see how much everything had changed. The village had grown larger, and the homes looked different. The once familiar sights were now foreign to him. As he walked through the streets, people stared at him, puzzled by his old-fashioned clothing and appearance. Rip soon encountered a group of young men who were discussing the recent events in the village. They were unaware of who he was, and they looked at him with confusion and curiosity. When he mentioned his name, he was met with blank stares. Rip felt out of place, as though he had stepped into a different world. He wandered around, hoping to find someone who would recognize him. Finally, he approached an old inn, where he used to spend many hours with his friends. But the inn was now different. It had been transformed and bore a new sign that read, George Washington. Rip's heart sank as he began to understand the implications of his long sleep. He soon learned that the American Revolutionary War had taken place during his absence, and the colonies had gained independence from British rule. The country had changed dramatically, and Rip was left behind in a world that no longer existed. As he continued his exploration, Rip learned that his wife had passed away. The news struck him hard, and he felt a deep sense of loss for the life he once knew. Despite the changes, he found solace in his children, who were now grown. They welcomed him into their home, and he began to share his remarkable story of falling asleep for 2 decades. Rip became a cherished figure in the village, often retelling his adventures and the odd tale of the strange men he had met in the mountains. The villagers were fascinated by his story, and he became a living legend. Though Rip Van Winkle had lost many years of his life, he found a new purpose in sharing his experiences. His tale served as a reminder of the rapid changes that had taken place in the world around him and the importance of embracing the passage of time. Rip continued to live a peaceful life in the village, enjoying the company of his family and friends, content in the knowledge that, while he may have slept through the changes, he had awakened to a world full of new possibilities. The moral of Rip Van Winkle is the inevitability of change and the importance of adapting to it. The story highlights how time passes regardless of one's actions, and avoiding responsibility or shirking life's challenges does not stop the world from evolving. Rip's long sleep symbolizes the dangers of complacency and laziness, as he misses out on significant events like the American Revolution, waking up to a world that has moved on without him. However, the story also conveys that it's never too late to adjust to new circumstances and find peace, even after missing out on much of life's progress. I hope you learn. God bless you all.